Welcome, artists. How's it going? It's been a little while. So as I took a little break, I was contacted by Chalkola and they sent me some watercolor brush pens, which also come with a watercolor brush pad, a watercolor brush itself, and a water brush, and they sent me some 1mm chalk markers that are neon colored, which I've kind of been obsessed with things that are neon lately. If you've been watching my Instagram lately, I'm just kind of obsessed with neon lately. I'm not really sure what the inspiration was exactly. If you remember, I actually collaborated with Chalkola when they first got started a few years ago. I had a coffee table that was made from chalkboard paint. I painted the surface and I used that as a means of demonstrating what their first chalk markers were like, which were awesome and lots of fun. So let's join me on this journey where we look for the pros and cons of this excellent medium. First off, I want to say that if you are intimidated by watercolors, this will actually help you kind of loosen up and get used to kind of the effects of watercolor and how to control the water if you're using these pens for that purpose. However, you got to realize that most watercolor itself is made of pigment, not necessarily ink, unless you're using like Dr. B.H. Martin's watercolors that are concentrated. Otherwise, this will be a fantastic medium to kind of bridge the gap with that. And I also love the ease of these watercolor brush pens. They're very, very nice. You've got a nice wide range of colors that you don't have a lot of similar colors like some of the bigger packs do. So you can see that they have fantastic range. And it's not necessarily overwhelming with lots of similar colors like some of the bigger packs of other brands that are on the market right now. No shade to anybody in particular. I'm just saying lots of times whenever you get bigger sets, especially of these particular pens, I'm not really sure why, you get similar colors. So you're not wasting your time with a whole lot of various colors that are the same on the same spectrum. You've just got a nice range of greens, blues, purple, red, and some earth tones here. You've got this nice olive green that's mixed in. So you have your brights and you have some means of using more natural colors if you choose to do so. Me, I prefer my shit bright, okay? So that's what you're gonna see in the time lapses. I've been using these for a couple weeks now. So let's go over my experience with these. They basically are a little bit shorter and maybe slightly thicker than, say, the Arteza brush pens. I feel like they're juicier. I know sometimes the other brands that are on the market tend to be a little on the dry side with these real fiber tip brush pens. I'm not really sure what causes that, but I had no problem with these whatsoever. You can get that sort of like dry ink brush effect without it necessarily being too dry or anything like that. It kind of had a nice medium between being wet and dry, if that makes sense. There are 26 colors in this collection. I believe this is their first attempt at any kind of water soluble medium. So congratulations to them because they've got a great set here and I think that you'll like it. It's reasonably priced. I believe it's maybe $16.99 on Amazon and on their website as well. So also I am an affiliate. I'm not sponsored, so I'm not getting paid to tell you about this. They sent this to me on a volunteer basis, and we also have a giveaway at the end of this video that you want to hear about. So if you're wanting to get your hands on a free set of these watercolor brush pens, stay tuned. I will have those details for you later in the video. I'm going to say right away that they worked fantastic on the Canson XL watercolor pad. That's what I went for because it tends to hold a lot of water without buckling too hard. I used the 9x12 Canson XL to do a couple of projects here, which you can see, and you will be able to see these in the time lapses. Unfortunately, I'm a little goofy with my new camera and how the time lapse works. So the first time lapse with the elephant is a little janky. It's a little bit too fast. It might be maybe 30 seconds total, so you can't really see a lot of the process. I will try to slow it down just a little bit in post-production so you can see a little bit more of the process, but it might be a little bit more like stop motion in that effect. However, I did do this lady in real time and I loved the effect, and I also combined this with the chalk markers. So it had a wonderful, nice, almost neon effect because we have this fantastic, if I can get it out, we have a fantastic highlighter yellow color, and you can see that whenever I'm swatching out the entire color chart. So as far as this particular piece went, You'll see it in the time lapse, but unfortunately, some of the ink that I had kind of bled a little bit. The Micron pens, of course, they did not bleed. I picked up a brush pen that was not waterproof. So that was partially my fault. That was not on the fault of the markers. So just wanted to note that. These definitely blended well together. They had a wonderful, nice watercolor effect. It looked very natural, and so you can layer with them and get you can increase the depth, because sometimes whenever these are wetted, the pigment kind of spreads out and it's not quite as concentrated, so you can get more pastel effects with that. So if you wanted to layer and make them darker, you can do that and make sure that they're dry on top if you like. So also, I wanted to show you the color chart. Now you can see here that you've got plenty of oranges, and this actually is kind of a peach color, so that works for a nice fair skin tone. The only discrepancy that I have with this color chart is that we have this nice purple here. I love purple, and I would love to see a little bit like a blue violet. That's just me being a Virgo and being a little bit nitpicky. It might be nice to have a nice blue violet, but I did see that whenever I worked with the woman, that if I layered this sort of ultramarine color on top of this particular purple, it kind of evened it out a little bit and made it a little bit more cool tone. So you can layer them and blend them and make different effects with them. And so that's very, very nice. I love these red colors. These are so beautiful and juicy. And this particular color, I love it because it's a nice, true red, ruby red almost. And I also love that they have this sort of neutral, it's a little bit more on the warm gray side, which it might be nice to have a cool gray mixed in, just to note that. But this particular gray I used to shade in this particular part of her sunglasses. I'm going to zoom you in. So this particular part of her sunglasses, like, you've got the tinted glasses, but you've got your hair as well. So you want to make sure that it doesn't look unnatural. Of course, some of this looks unnatural anyways, but I wanted to make sure that it kind of gave that effect that it was casting the shadow, but it wasn't actually changing the color of the hair or anything like that. So I had a lot of fun. I had so much fun with these particular brush pens because I didn't have any issues with them drying out. I loved the way they spread the color on, and I also layered some dry on top techniques here at the very end with this particular elephant. So it made it kind of give that sort of elephant ear texture to it. So you can make different effects with these. You could do wet on wet, and you can do dry on wet, and wet on dry, I suppose. I found that this was a pleasant experience. It's not always that way whenever you're testing out art supplies, and I've tested out plenty of art supplies myself, having owned a lot of art supplies and also being collaborative with brands. So I really feel like this is a good deal. So let's talk about some of the cons that I ran into. I don't like saying negative things, but I do want to be honest about my experience with these products that I continue to review. And the reason why I did this on a different paper was because I did not have a lot of luck with the actual watercolor pad. This mixed media watercolor pad paper, I'm not really sure exactly why this happened or what caused the paper to react in this way, but I tried several brands, and I'll show you what I mean. This particular swatch right here and this one are actually these watercolor brushes. It's as if the pigment didn't want to spread. It was very, very porous, and it made it bleed, but it didn't actually spread the pigment around the way that other watercolor paper would do. I want to give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt because this is their first attempt in doing water-soluble media, so maybe they could make an improvement on the watercolor pad itself. I tried Allrook, which is the most fantastic watercolor pencils on the market. If you've seen some of my work before with them, particularly the portrait with Gerard Way that was done with mostly those particular watercolor pencils, they don't look like watercolor pencils, meaning they don't leave residual marks. They actually melt practically. You don't get any residual marks. This is actually Allrook, and as you can see, it spread more of the pigment, but it left residual lines. So it did not give that full effect of what the Albrecht pencils can do. So that's just a little bit of a comparison to say, you know, this is the top of the line watercolor pencil on the market, the best, highest rated one on this paper. So I hate to say that, but this is just, you know, it speaks for itself. The only time that it really actually kind of worked was, I believe this was the Daniel Smith mixing set. But I found that even with a little bit more dispersion of the color came a little bit of pilling. There's some granulation there, which is not necessarily a bad thing at all. For instance, I tried to color this bowl of cherries, and you can see that it just bled all over the place. I just didn't, you couldn't control it, and I really didn't care for it. But this particular swatch, you know, I was trying to get the color to, you know, spread and get the pigment to work, and the paper started to pill right away. So that's my experience. That's why I chose to do it on a different watercolor paper. I'm just letting the company know just right now, you know, it is what it is. I think there could be some room for improvement, especially because this is 200-pound paper. I don't recommend their watercolor pad that comes with the brush pens. I do highly recommend the brush pens themselves. So, you know, whether you choose to use the actual paper that comes with these or not is absolutely up to you, of course. On top of that, we've got these chalk markers, and these are a lot of fun. I love neon, of course, you know, and we've got this little swatch, you know. This is Yupo paper, by the way, and I'm just kind of getting used to Yupo paper a little bit, but I did some scribbles, and these work perfectly fine as the base layer on this non-porous paper. So FYI, Yupo is non-porous. It's not going to soak up your pigment the way that watercolor paper does. It kind of sits on top, and you can actually like re-wet everything and wipe back off and start over. It's kind of cool. Here are all of the 9 colors that we have here. I'm going to zoom you in so you can see a little bit better. It's not the best swatch party. I'm sorry. You know, it just happened that way. I didn't want to waste a huge page of Yupo paper because Yupo paper is expensive. Sorry. I'm not really sure what happened here. There's something that got on the orange. The orange tended to be a little less, I'm not sure if it's less pigmented. It just seemed to be a little bit on the watery side. I shook it up a little bit, you know, and it didn't seem to be quite as opaque as the other colors. We got a lovely pink here. We've got lovely highlighter yellow. We've got a lovely neon green. We've got a fantastic purple. I wouldn't necessarily call the purple neon or necessarily the blue neon, but blue and purple are hard to get with neon colors. It's just, that's across the board with neon paint or UV light paint, anything like that. So I'm kind of, you know, I'm not sweating it, so I still found them enjoyable to work with. They laid down the color just fine, and you can see with the scribbles, you know, it was just a lot of fun to play with them because I love fine tip stuff. I don't know if you can see that, but it's a very nice, all the pigment comes out at the very end here. I don't know, I like writing with it, but the thing is that every time that you use it, you kind of have to, you know, press down to get the pigment started a little bit more. So something I've noticed with this elephant, which I had a lot of fun drawing and painting and layering these colors, I like how they had a bloom effect and that I could mix them fairly easily and layer on top of each other very easily. Do notice that the highlighter yellow color, which really had a glowing effect, of course, it's a little bit faded out now. I wasn't expecting that to happen right away. I know that fluorescent colors just, they're never light fast. They do have a tendency to fade over time. But I feel like it seems like it's a little bit more rapid than what I thought it would be. So what works really well is that I layered the yellow chalk marker on top of the parts that I wanted to highlight on top of that highlighter yellow so that it gave a really nice neon effect. So yeah, it adds a nice touch, and that might be what I might do with the elephant as well. So as a Chalkola affiliate, if you follow the link in the description, it just means that I'm getting a little bit of a commission if you click that link and purchase the brush pens or any of their chalkboard products or chalk, you know, markers or anything like that in the store. A little bit of a commission goes to me and the other goes to the company, and so it doesn't affect the price. It's just a nice little way to say, yay, thumbs up, thank you, you know, and I really appreciate it in advance. Hello, fellow artists. I know that was horribly cut off thanks to my camera battery dying.
I was essentially done with everything that I wanted to tell you about this product though. So let's just get to the fun stuff. It is the giveaway goods. If you made it this far and you want to participate in the watercolor brush pen set giveaway, like this video and leave a comment below on your favorite water soluble media. Doesn't matter what it is, be it watercolor pans, brush pens, watercolor crayons, whatever you like. That'll get you entered, and the deadline will be on New Year's Eve. So Chalkola will contact you directly if you win. So winner will be announced through here on YouTube, on my community page, and through my stories. So keep your eyes peeled there, and good luck to everyone. I'll see you next time. I hope you have enjoyed this comprehensive, very thorough review. I do hope you all have a wonderful holiday season. Make sure to be kind to each other, and I will see you next time. Keep creating, artists.
And I've got right now, so what we're going to focus on, what my experience was with these and what's going, it shouldn't be this hard to talk. I want to say right now, the only discrepancy, this only, so you can see that they, oh no, I was flowing so good.